Welcome back to the 801st Podcast, a Star Wars Legion podcast brought to you here at Demolition Games here in Salt Lake City. Come by for some awesome deals if you're ever in the area. We'd be honored if you would join us.
Hello there.
You must unlearn
The dark
what you
side of
have
the
learned.
Force is a pathway to many abilities.
Red, red,
some
green, or
considered
red, green, red.
I know it.
Sorry about the mess.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
General Kenobi.
Let's rearrange some architectures.
Is it possible to learn this power?
I thank you for your hospitality.
Twice the pride, double the fall.
Impressive. I'll show you the dark side.
Well, that's a new introduction for you, so I hope you guys at home really liked it. Once again, we're back. Welcome to you, Matt. Thanks for coming back, as you always do.
Pleasure to be here, as always, Kyle. Good to be back.
Yeah, dude. Okay, before we go any further with this podcast, guys, I just want to, both of us, not just me, from Matt and I both, we want to give a huge thank you to you guys at home watching or listening. It means the world to us. We had no idea that we would have the success we've had so far. We're nothing big by any means, but holy crap, over 100 views on both of our first, 100 listens, I guess, on the first two podcasts. Astronomically better than we could have ever imagined. So a huge thank you to you guys.
Yeah, man, it's just, we're so appreciative of it. The community's growing. It's so great to have people out there who support stuff like this because we want to support you guys. That's what we're all about. Mm-hmm. So we're happy to be there and just give us feedback and stuff because we want to be able to help you guys moving forward as well.
That feedback is going to mean the world to us. Our mission from day one, we've always said, we want this to be a community-driven podcast. Your guys' interaction, both in the comments and on our Discord server, has been absolutely incredible. Also, if you didn't know, we do have a Discord server now.
Matter of fact, yes, we do. Isn't that right, Kyle?
That is right, Matthew. It is in the description below, so I hope you check it out. And if you are listening onto other platforms besides YouTube, make sure to go over to YouTube to at least subscribe so that way you're notified in case if the podcast things don't work out. I've had a little bit of trouble so far getting Google Podcasts set up. They're there. In case you were wondering, we are on all platforms now, but for some reason they're having a trouble pop up. So just make sure to subscribe on YouTube. That way you're notified when we go and we post a podcast episode.
Oh, yeah, and check out the Twitter. We're going to get an Instagram up this week. Different ways to contact us as well.
Yeah, this isn't us just plugging our stuff. This is like stuff you guys requested, so we are following up with you guys, letting you know you guys wanted a Discord, boom, we got a Discord. You wanted a Twitter, boom, we got a Twitter. We are on it. We are a podcast for the people.
Right? Like, you're going to be there in our pockets on our computers every day. We'll hear your voices first before anything, that's for sure.
Exactly. Okay, so Matt, it's been a freaking awesome week. Let me just tell you that. I'm excited to be back. We got a juicy show for you today. It's going to be very exciting. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's going to be probably a little bit longer than our normal episode. We'll see, but it's a juicy one.
Dude, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, there was so much that happened this week. We got to talk about the FFG Live video, which was crazy. We had a lot of stuff spoiled. LVO, my gosh, so much happened. So much.
The LVO, man. I was shocked at myself because I was like, yeah, I'll tune in a couple times. From like on Sunday, because I had Sunday off, I was able to just watch all of the games pretty much, and I had a great time watching it. Huge shout out to the Fifth Trooper guys for broadcasting that for the fans. We really appreciate you guys doing that because FFG didn't do it, obviously, but having the community do that was awesome.
It was incredible, and to see how many people were there, and shout out to the Stabcast people
Heck
also,
yeah.
and the Outriders. Great hosts, but man, such a fun time. And Kyle, I don't know, did you get my shout out in the message on YouTube? Yeah.
We were both in the chat secretly talking to each other. I should have talked from the 801st channel though.
I know.
Oh man, I don't know why I didn't do that.
It was funny. We're watching the finals. It was the finals, and they're talking about stuff, and I see Kyle comment. I'm like, holy crap, Kyle, is that you? He's like, Matt, is that you?
Yeah, man, that was fun. Because I saw that, I was like, Yo, it's your boy.
It's your boy.
Oh man. Okay, I this isn't on the schedule, but I did want to say something, and this may appear as off topic first, but I wanted to address it. This week we did have the loss of a legend, Kobe Bryant, tragic helicopter accident.
Yeah.
The reason, I mean, this is a Star Wars Legion podcast, right? But it's such an icon. To see him go was it's terrible news. Also, if you don't know, we've memed it up with my Kenobi on the table.
Oh my
we call him we like whenever he jumps in and pops hello there, we're always like Kobe
or Kashlobi.
Yeah, we
to
just
mix it up with Kenobi.
Yeah, we've always given him that Kobe, that Kashlobi, and I think it would be a missed opportunity for us to take that time to say thanks to Kobe Bryant and what he brought to the game. Just regardless of how you feel about him as a person. There was nobody on this earth, I believe, that hasn't tossed something into a trash can and yet shouted his name,
Right, and just the impact he had on the game as well. Just
Yeah.
very important. I mean, I can't imagine having somebody like that in the Legion community pass. And our hearts go out to his family as well. Because no matter how he impacts the larger world, it's going to be much more difficult for the family, and our thoughts and prayers go to them.
Yeah, of course. And sorry if that's not what you guys want to hear, but we felt it would be very respectful to do that. And like Matt said, if someone did that if someone happened to have a early passing in our community, it would be an honor for someone in the basketball community, maybe someone running a basketball podcast, say, I watched this 801st, or I watched this other podcast, thanks for all the good times, and I feel like it's a two-way street, We're all humans, right? We're all here we're just playing games. They're just more athletic about it.
They're a little more,
But anyways, without further ado, let's jump into more of the Star Wars Legion content today. Okay, Matt, we got to talk about FFG a little bit as a company.
Oh my goodness! Like it's such so much salt, but so much love, so much salt.
Yes. Before we go any further, if FFG or anyone that is connected with FFG is listening, we want you to know we love you guys. We love your game. We love just everything you've done with it so far. We just have a couple things we want to talk about.
Oh, and I feel bad because I kind of got heated at the store this week while we were playing about this, didn't I?
I saw a couple people turn their heads. It's okay, though.
Oh,
we all have
man.
our moments.
And the thing we wanted to bring up is release schedule.
Yeah. First of all, we have more delays that haven't been posted on their release schedule. Like casually in their FFG live stream, they said, "Oh yeah, we're probably not going to make February, but we're hoping still by the end of March, first quarter 2019." And they're referring, of course, to the tanks and the Phase 2 clones, B2 battle droids, the rest of the manufactured Might Wave.
Which is really hard to hear because we'll talk about this later, but those things I think are going to be very crucial for the new objectives moving forward. And especially if you're a Droids and Clones player, that feels bad.
Yeah, you just got into this game. There's not a lot to play right now. Meanwhile, you're getting trampled all over by triple tauntauns.
Triple taunts. You're getting Wookiees in your face. Dude, the fact that you don't even have a sniper, I mean, it just gets annoying to be like, well, I can't deal with range 5.
Right.
I can't even get it. Like,
the options just aren't there.
Yeah, it's just not there.
And don't get me wrong, I'm a huge advocate for clones. Matt, you love playing droids. We both love the factions. They're great factions. But there's a reason why they're suffering in tournaments right now. There's just not as much of a presence, if you will. So I think first and foremost that subtle drop of a delay, and them not even posting it on their official website was just like it seemed disingenuous to their community a little bit.
Yeah, it was. I have to agree with that, and it was a little interesting because the funny thing is, I love FFG's games, their products. I think their developers are super involved, and I love that they do push things out quite often, which is nice. I just wish that maybe they could slow down a little bit in return for getting things out on time. Yeah. Because I'll be honest. So the thing that got me heated, and I love Luke Eddy. I think he's great. I love Alex Davey, but in the FFG live stream.
Just before Matt goes any further, guys, remember what people say is not representative of who they are as a people. Always
100%. Right. This is just a flippant comment that was side comment, and I had to calm myself down. Yeah. I kind of had to take a step back, and I did. But it was what he said, something along the lines of like, "Oh, that's right, because on Friday you guys are gonna get spoiled with a lot of stuff." When people were asking what else can we expect in the future in the chat, and he said, "Oh, well, we're gonna give you we're gonna be kind of gluttonous with our releases," and that kind of set me off a little bit because I was like, "Well, it's not gluttonous if everything that's coming out this Friday should have been out 2 months ago,
right?
It's not gluttonous if your release schedule got pushed back, but." We do love their stuff. There's a lot of cool things coming out. I personally am excited for the poison guns.
Yeah.
I think they have a lot of potential, but it'll be harder to use but there's a lot of cool things to do
Pierce
with it.
on the clones. That's gonna be great.
Okay, that's real. That's the best thing coming out. So.
Oh man, yeah. There's a lot of great things. Just the specialists for the other factions too, with the clones, with the Empire, with the Rebels. That's gonna be really nice. No, that comment of just like, we're gonna be gluttonous with this release. You're getting spoiled. When it's R2D2 and C-3PO, the crash escape pod, right? That's 1. You got the Imperial bunker. That's 2. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 faction upgrades that were supposed to come out already, and then now you're telling us that. Oh no, not even that. Operative Luke and Operative Vader.
Luke and
that makes
Vader.
8 expansions that have been delayed to high heavens, and you're telling us that that's a gluttonous release. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah. On the other hand, it is nice to finally get
Right. No, absolutely.
nice.
And we don't want to, of all problems, like, this is such a small one, right? The reason we bring this up is because we want to pass it off to you guys as well. Like, how do you feel about this? Are you kind of glad they waited? They all are releasing at the same time? Because by all means, they could have just released Operative Luke and Operative Vader, like, last month, you know? I don't know why necessarily they all had to wait for one day.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this a lot because a lot of the times you can get stuck in port when you're getting travel
Right.
across the ocean, and I know with a lot of the storms recently,
Yeah.
like we've had a lot of snow and
Right.
rain here in Utah, but with that I know some of the ships got delayed. For
Right.
example, that's why the Armada stuff came
Yeah.
late. I imagine they're on the same boat.
Privateer Press, that company also had the same issues. The storm in the Midwest just absolutely derailed that, and I totally get that. But we're talking the release date from the 24th of January to the 31st. That's a week. That's
and
like,
even
okay,
earlier than that,
right,
back to the beginning of December.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then there's things. I don't know. It's a tough thing. I do think it was interesting to see the impact of that on LVO because if we
Yeah.
had Operative Luke and Vader, that,
Oh, yeah.
that could have changed things.
Yeah, and I would like to see it because we know people are out there playing with these like homebrew scenarios where they're subbing in stuff, right? Maybe not necessarily homebrew, but they're like subbing in
Yeah.
Operative Luke because the card is spoiled, right? We know what
Yeah.
he's gonna do, so they're just using their Luke model for Operative Luke, and which is
Or
fine.
maybe their Lego Star Wars model.
Right, yeah,
for
you're
Operative
welcome
Luke.
to do that. No one's stopping you. But the whole reason there's like really so like right now, I'm sure you guys are thinking like, okay, Kyle and Matt, like get over yourselves. It's not that big of a deal, right? But this final point, I think, is just the nail in the coffin that made me very upset about this. So they say the 31st is their release date. What do we get on YouTube and Facebook? All these pictures and all these videos of people getting their stuff early. So before the 31st, which is their official street date for these products, FFG broke their own street date. You may ask, okay, why is that a big deal? I'll tell you why it's a big deal. Because I run a shop where I have to tell people every day that, hey, your item isn't in yet because FFG broke their own release date. Meanwhile, we're working through a distributor to get it to you cheaper. And so therefore, we don't have the product for you that you were expecting. But everyone else has it because they paid more. But because you wanted to save $1, you don't get it on time with everyone else. And that bugs me more than anything.
It feels bad, man. It feels bad. But FFG, just to close out the point, we love you. We
Yeah.
really do. Please don't stop making the game.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah.
No, like
Please don't.
There are worse things to complain about. They really are. But we wanted to voice these things to you guys to get your feedback. What do you guys think? Sound off in the comments on YouTube or on Discord. Reach out to us and let us know what you think. That is one drawback that I have noticed so far. By the way, about other platforms for our podcast is that there's no way to interact with anyone on like Google or Spotify or whatever. If there is, by all means, guys, let us know. But I haven't seen any.
Right, and I think that's why I'm so happy for the Twitter. There's a little bit
Yeah.
more direct contact.
Yeah.
You can just add us.
Yeah.
We'll be there. And the Discord especially, I think that's a great way.
Yeah.
The Discord has actually been a lot more active than I thought it would be.
Yes.
It hit the ground running. It's
Yeah,
been good.
It's been great, and we really appreciate all of those of you who have signed up already or been a part of it, and we welcome those who are yet to come.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just moving on to our next segment here, we wanted to talk about, our regular. Matt, how are your games this week?
Oh, how were our games this week? Back and forth, man. Back and forth.
Back and forth.
So the big game, because I played a couple games this week. After the droids from last week, because I love my droids, but white defense dice, man, sometimes
Feels
they just
bad.
feel hashtag feels bad, man.
Feels
Yeah. I decided to go back to playing the Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Because I got my snipers painted up finally in the
Nice.
camo paints.
Oh, it looks so good, guys. It looks so good.
It's so cool. I was really afraid it wasn't gonna turn out well, but the camo snipers, man, they're great. So I was able to field them, and I actually played a couple games with them this week. Becca and I actually ended up playing a game, and it's funny because where she's a newer player, she kind of came to the conclusion of running a Leia Sabine list, which is funny because I saw variations of this list during the LVO tournament.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun to see her come to that conclusion by her own. But yeah, it ended up being my Krennic Shores with 2 Death Troopers, 2 mortar teams, a sniper, and a medic DLT Storms against Leia Sabine, Tons, Vets, an ATRT with a flame gun, and I'm trying to think what else there was. She had something else. Oh, yeah, it was a bunch of just regular Rebel Troopers.
Nice.
And then she had the astromech droid. Oh my gosh, those astromechs, man! Something about ATRTs with armor, and then you're almost about to kill it, and then it takes a wound off. Oh, so frustrating.
Yeah, probably my favorite part about this list, because this isn't like, I mean, with a couple of changes, right? You do have the Shore Troopers and the Mortar and the Death Troopers. Those are pretty much a staple of your Empire builds, as, I mean, I'm sure they're with a lot of people. That is one thing that I just love about the Empire and their ability with the Mortars. The Mortars, sure, they're meant to team up with the Shore Troopers, but those Death Troopers hit so hard that Mortar is slowing your opponent down. Your Shore Troopers are able, or not your Shore Troopers, excuse me, the Death Troopers are able to go in there and just clean house because you can't run away, you can't get behind cover, and if you can, it's not for long because the Death Troopers can move just as fast, actually faster if you're suppressed.
Dude, it was crazy. Yeah. And then I like her list because her list had Sabine on it, and I tell you guys, if you're not playing Sabine with Rebels, dude, she's so fun. She's
great.
So crazy. But yeah, so what we did was we ended up playing key positions.
Key positions, yeah.
So, with key positions, it always ends up kind of being, there's the center objective, and then 2 objectives really close to your deployment zone about, just range 1 out.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing advanced positions, which was really cool because you could, use your Shore Troopers, deploy them, do a Scout 1, and then detach my mortars, and then do a Scout with them. And it was so cool because that meant that by turn 1, I'm basically shooting at range 4, which is so cool.
That is so great.
Yeah, and so I ended up deploying, for me, the furthest left that I could and pushing out. Because the center objective was a big hill piece.
Okay.
You know the piece I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like height 2.
Right.
It's kind of like a mini mountain.
It's just like, think of Banjo-Kazooie Spiral Mountain, the terrain piece.
literally. It was, literally. And it's nice because it blocks sight to a lot of things.
But you could still get your way up there.
Yeah, and we had a little building on the side that was an objective piece, and then a little rock. And we were playing minefields, so we kind of shut off lanes to each other.
Okay.
So there's kind of this like line of mines down the middle, which is pretty cool. And so turn 1, man, she set her vets out, but the vets, this is my one thing with the vets, they don't have the range as much as the Shore Troopers do.
Right.
So I was able to lay into her quick and easy, but this is where I think the game changer thing happened, because I thought I had this in the bag, and then the Tons came up.
Tons.
No! Oh my gosh. So turn 1, I wiped a whole Ton. So she was down to 1 Ton left with 2 health. That's half the unit. But that Ton, as soon as they hit the mortar team, she was able to get into a position turn 2 where it tied up 2 Shore Troopers and a mortar team. Which was so painful. And then turn 3, Sabine came down, and because all those guys were tied up, she threw her bombs, and her bombs took out 3 sets of Shore Troopers.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it because they exploded twice. It was crazy. And then left the Ton tied up with Shore Troopers. So it was like, well, no, there goes half the list. But I tell you, man, the Death Troopers, you said it all. Because rounds 3, 4, and 5, man, they just put in work. Took out the ATRT. Because I had them on the other side of the hill. So they came around, took out the ATRT, took out all the Rebel Troopers. And, guys, there's a picture at the very end where they were just able to turn 6.
Yeah, I saw
Did you see that?
Yeah.
It was literally like a centimeter. They moved up, tied up Sabine in a way they were able to also touch the mountain with the leader's base in contact, and then punch her to death.
Nice.
For the win. It was ridiculous. It was crazy. That was a close game, man.
Yeah, I was
Super
working
close.
at the time, so I would come back and check up on your game every now and then just to see how it was going, and it was very back and forth that whole way.
Oh, it was a great game, and I gotta say that match really highlighted and I think a lot of people have talked about this. I think you and I talked about it independently, and then other people came. Then we started hearing the same opinion everywhere that Tons and Shores really even each other out.
They do, yeah.
They really do.
Well, and I'm sitting here thinking as well, like, I'm really liking the ATRT lately, just like with what it provides. But then I'm thinking, okay, well, if I was facing a mirror list, where they're running the same thing, 2 Tauntauns against my ATRT, see ya. That Ram with Ram 2, yikes.
Oh my gosh! And if you get roll other crits yourself, dude, that's 3+ crits.
Yeah, that's half of your health in one attack. Which for your vehicle, that's pretty. It's ouch time.
It's ouch time.
Yeah.
Me no like.
Well, okay. So overall, play experience that game out of 10. What would you rate it? Despite how well you did, play experience. How was it?
That was a 9.
9.
Which is that's
really
super
great.
high,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because one of those things where it came down to that Death Trooper being able to move just enough to touch the base, and because it was that centimeter, I remember I moved him and he was just, you could see the tip of him was sitting on the maneuver tool, but he's touching the base. And Becca was just like, oh, no way. And so we were freaking out. And she whipped out her phone and took a picture and posted it to Twitter because it was so close.
Well, and if you guys were on the Discord, you probably saw that picture too, Matt. You posted that to the Discord,
because it was so close. And it's one of those games where you walk away and you don't care who won.
Yeah.
It was just so much fun. And she played really well and I played really well. And it was just like, man, you don't even care about the competitiveness of it. You're just having fun. And we both played units that we liked, which was great.
Oh, absolutely. No, I love that you brought that up because I've started taking on this mentality that started expressing this mentality. We've always had this mentality between you and I, but Star Wars Legion is a game where you hate to see it go. You hate to see your bad rolls, you hate to see your guys go, but you love to play. You love to play it. No matter what, especially with you and I, with us being buds, even if you lose, you win because it was a good time. And that sounds so oh, good job, Johnny, you won. You did your best out there.
Here, you got your first place participation trophy. You're the number first. You're
the first participator.
The first second place. You got second place.
Assistant to the second place.
Mr. Shroot, yeah.
No. Well, yeah. Well, I'm glad you had a good experience with that. That was an exciting game to come back and watch.
Well, how about you? What were some of the games you played this week, Kyle?
So I didn't get a whole lot to play this week. I got a couple in, and we'll get to the one we played in a little bit. But one I played separately was with one of the gentlemen we play with here at Demolition Games. We did a very similar setup. We did key positions.
Who was it you played with?
I played with Ethan.
Oh, yeah. Ethan.
With the Gav.
Right.
He had the Gav tank.
Dude, he's on a tank roll right now, and he's getting really good at
it. He did something I haven't played against before, which was really fun to do. He played Scout Troopers with the sniper attached. So the sniper was much more, I wouldn't say mobile, but it had more health points. The courage value was there. White dice for the defense.
Yeah, that's true.
But he kept them in cover, which meant they got cover too, which was nice.
What do they roll on attack, the rest of the Scout Troopers?
They roll they roll white dice for the regular holdout blasters. But the sniper adding 2 blacks is pretty great. And
that's not bad.
High velocity, pierce, all the works for a sniper. It's just a sniper unit with more minis. My thing is that the sniper is not the unit leader as far as I'm aware, in that situation. I'd have to look at the card closer. I don't play them in that build.
Oh yeah.
I just run the strike teams. That's all I really do with snipers. But yeah, he ran those up. I was able to exploit him though because I ran my Wookiees right up alongside of the board. My Wookiees rolling a black and a white each.
Were you just running
melee contact?
Did you just run Leia Sabine again, or?
This game, I actually ran my list I've been talking about for a couple weeks called "The Boys Are Back in Town."
The bad boys for life.
My first game with Han and Chewie, and it was a great time. He found out that Chewie was going to gain charge if he took 4 more wounds, so he was out of spite. Curse you, Ethan! Out of spite, he didn't want to touch Chewie at all. So that means I had to stay at range with Chewie because, yeah, he can do some great melee damage, and he eventually did on the Gav. He just ran up and just beat the crap out of that Gav with 4 red dice. I mean, come on, that's
great.
That's
crazy. Well, the problem is with all that fur, I'm sure he gets sweaty and pretty sneaky under there.
Yeah.
You don't really want to get close to him.
But yeah, so he went on his sides to get that extra impact. So it was a great time for Chewie. He ran Shore Troopers and his Flame Troopers. I ran Han and Chewie with some Wookiees. I call it the Boys Are Back in Town because it's a total cheese list, right? It's Han and Chewie, the boys. You got the extra Wookiees for theme going. But then I got two sets of Tauntauns, so 4 Tauntauns total. Got 3 bare bones Rebel units and an ATRT. So overall, I had 11 activations.
Dude, furries and mechs.
Yeah, furries and mechs. Yeah, and my 2 strike teams.
Oh, yeah.
Not
weird
yeah,
at
that
all.
should be my 11 activations. So, yeah.
Oh, gosh, you fit 11 activations in
Yeah. I was at like 799 points, I believe. I don't think I gave Han any upgrades. I gave Chewie, Hunter, and Tenacity because naturally, like you would do that.
Naturally.
My Wookiees I don't know if I can't remember if I upgraded them. I should reference the list, but I don't have it on me right now. But Tauntauns, you don't really need an attachment. You could give them Hunter or Tenacity to, make them a little extra mean. But I feel like if you have 2 sets of Tauntauns on the table, you're already spreading your opponent thin. They have to answer that somehow.
Dude, it's a hard thing to respond to. Like, I mean, gun lines, you can start getting shots at them early as long as there's no cover. But dude, if they're dodging through cover, like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's it's a bad feeling, man.
Well, and so one of my great plays of that game is that he popped General Veers because that was his commander. He popped Veers' 1 pip. Yeah, his 1 pip for the bombardment, or whatever pip that was. Yeah, his bombardment command card. But I played Han's 3 pip that makes you re-pick your selection.
Oh no!
So I ended up tying him for the bid after that, and then I rolled and I got the bid. So Han and Chewie were able to get orders. So that helped me a lot. And then the next round, I was like, okay, he's gonna want to play that card again. What did I do?
Melee.
No, for my command card. For my command card. He's gonna pop the card he originally wanted to play last turn.
You play Han.
So I played Sorry About the Mess. Get that
about
0 pip. Kill Veers. It's over. It's over.
Oh no, that's so dirty, man.
Yeah, it was a great.
Bro.
I don't have many great plays in my lifetime, but that was a good one.
You just shot him under the table.
Yeah,
you're dirty.
I love that card. The theme behind it, the what it gives you, just always being first. It's so good.
I will say this, a little bit of a controversial opinion. I wish they just called it shoots first.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that they wanted to. I don't know. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Why did they do it? Because I feel like that would be so cool. I feel
like Sorry About the Mess incorporates the attitude of Han Solo. I don't know if it was to
like the swag.
Yeah, it's like Sorry About the Mess. How he says as he's walking out of the cantina.
You definitely left Veers in a mess. So.
Yeah, sorry about the mess. I feel like that's your pip. And what's great is that I played Chewie's card next turn, and then I was able to put that card that I played from Han. I can't remember which card it is. It's the Han and Chewie card. Chewie lets you put Han's card back into your hand. So I put Sorry About the Mess back into my hand and popped it again the next round.
That's just... Oh, you hate to see it.
You hate to see it, Jim. I feel like... maybe we'll talk about this on a future podcast in greater length, but I feel like Han and Chewie are the best look into what Scum and Villainy faction would look like.
Oh my gosh, dude. That's definitely something to talk about in the future.
Yeah.
Something where it's like... I would say make them a really finicky faction. Because Rebels, they're a little finicky.
Yeah.
But Scum and Villainy, man, they've got to be tricky. They got to be a slippery faction,
Yep.
Like, you got to nail them down, and it's hard to know what's coming.
Well, I mean, the command card is called Notorious Scoundrels for a reason. Like, they are the Scum and, they were in Mos Eisley.
Hey, that sounds like a podcast I've heard of.
Yeah, man, I don't know where I've heard that before.
Oh, that sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, I love those two. I just bought them and painted them up and played them this week. And it was a great time. I don't know how I'll do in the future with them. I don't know what kind of lists I would do. I just really wanted to make a fun list for them, just something thematic, and it worked well for me. But I'd like to play that again. I would like to see that again against a team that's not as armor focused, because he had the Gav take up a large portion of his list.
Okay, yeah, and that sucks, because then you end up. You throw a lot lot of dice, you don't get a lot of hits.
I didn't end up killing the Gav because I just outmaneuvered it with that same piece of terrain, actually, the Spiral Mountain one. We used it in that game, and I was able to just hide the Tons behind that, and then boop, boop, right up into melee combat.
Gosh.
So, anyone that was going to be in danger of the Gav, they either were able to get out of arc first, or they were able to get in melee combat first. And it was really bad because the way he played the Gav as well wasn't necessarily the best, because he funneled it through this really tight alley, but he couldn't pivot anywhere because of it.
Oh, no.
So he was stuck there, and so he ended up having to back out. I would have done what I would have done in that situation. I would have actually pressed forward instead, displaced some people. Yeah. But he chose to back out to get a shot, which, I mean, you know, that's his play, right? Like, I can't take away from that. That's his play.
It's hard too because like there's always like I say this because I see it in Armada a lot too. We're like, okay, crap, this is what I would have done.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know what the other player's thinking.
Yeah.
And to Ethan's credit, man, he's getting really good.
No, he's
getting
only
really
been
good.
playing for a couple weeks, and he's showing
yeah.
he's showing his stripes already. So
It's like last night watching him play with Gabe, and Gabe's a good clone player.
Yeah.
Gabe plays clones basically exclusively, and I first played him at the tournament
Nice.
2 weeks ago, and so he kind of has been hopping stores a lot.
yeah,
And it was kind of cool to see them both play, and Ethan was kind of giving pointers to Gabe, and Gabe was giving pointers back. It was kind of,
Yeah.
they're both like on their own 2 feet now.
Yeah, and that's
And
great
it was
to
way
see.
cool because
You
they're
love
both
to see
playing
it.
really. You'll love to see it. Just, you'll love to see it. How much more do you want from me, Kobe? More.
Oh, Kobe.
Oh, really?
Kobe.
Really, dude. But yeah.
Well, so, I guess that's our games for the week. We'll move on to our next topic, which is our questions from the community. We got a question from our very own Will. He is a local member of the 801st here.
Will Lewis.
Will Lewis, my boy.
We need to get the bullhorn going.
Doo-doo.
Will Lewis.
Will asks, or he just simply says, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the new spoiled Vital Assets cards.
That's actually a great thing to talk about because, oh my gosh, so the second that I saw those things come out during the live stream, because we were both watching,
Yeah.
and it was so cool with Alex Davey getting on and
Yeah.
talking about it. Kyle and I, we actually literally were like, okay, we're playing.
Yeah.
So the next day we got together, played the objectives.
Yes. And I mean, like, I don't see why that's wrong in any way. They put it out there for you to experiment with. By all means, like, I understand, like, if you're the kind of person that wants to wait until it's officially out. But with them just being printable cards, they did it with Skirmish. Why not just let us do it with that? Vital Assets is going to have plenty of reason to buy it with the models you're getting, with the deck of cards you're getting. Like, that's going to be great. So I don't see a problem with us just playing the objectives and the battle conditions beforehand.
Right. And I guess what did you think of it? Like looking at them just objectively, like what was your thoughts?
So for those of you who haven't seen it, we're looking at I forget what they called each card.
Oh, yeah.
There's War Weary.
That's
War
the new
Weary is the
condition,
condition, which is you're measuring only range 1 to check if your to check if your units are panicked. And then you have
Rollout is
rollout. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the new vehicle.
Yeah.
Focused
Right.
deployment.
So it's like advanced positions, but just a little bit wider. But also, your vehicles get to spawn within range 1 of your deployment zone. So they're even getting a little bit of a further push, which was scary because I just brought an ATRT and some Tauntauns. You brought an ATST.
I brought an ATST, and my gosh, being able to be like, here you go. I'll be honest though, range
man.
1 is just enough to get his base basically completely outside of the deployment zone.
Yeah.
So it helps, but like, to an extent. But where I think it really
He
helps.
can't strafe, which is unfortunate, which the tanks are upcoming
Yeah.
are going to be able to, which is going to help a lot.
But I think it was cool to be able to move up and shoot your snipers.
Oh,
turn 1.
yeah.
That was pretty cool.
That
range
was
4.
amazing.
But I'll say this: I think speeder bikes are going to benefit from that a lot
Oh, yeah.
because we did the math because the way the speeder bikes move, especially like the Imperial ones,
Uh-huh.
they move like about 9 point something inches. I think it's like
Mm-hmm.
9.3 inches. So if
Fractions.
you so if you deploy there and you do your compulsory and then 2 like full speed moves, man, you're in the enemy's deployment zone turn 1. That's crazy.
Well, and
That's
the
wild.
objective is the bombing run, right? You get a
Yeah,
victory
that's the
token
new one, yeah.
for every bomb you set off within range 1 of your enemy's deployment zone. Not even just next within range 1
Within
of.
1, yeah.
So speeder bikes being able to get there right away, and because of their vehicle they get an extra boost. Man, that's not exactly how it works because remember we found out
You have to deploy in the deployment zone.
yeah, if
to
you
get
have a bomb, yeah, you have to be in the deployment zone. Which I mean, for the speeder bikes is still like super good.
Let's be real. I was basically your deployment zone turn 2.
Yeah.
I did slow down because you had a great play.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that, but
Well, I
fun.
can't wait to see how the bark does with that.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, because red saves on their dice. That's gonna be good. Bare Bones barks with that, triggering fire support so clones can support them as they go up.
Oh my gosh. And imagine putting like, I mean, can you take HQ uplinks on them?
I believe you can. You believe you can? Yeah.
Take aggressive tactics and then HQ uplinks, then you're getting surge to defense.
Yeah.
That's wild,
Yeah.
man. Yas, Queen.
Yeah. I'd love to see it.
That's
I
crazy.
can't. I can't wait to see how that goes. But
you-
overall, like, yeah, what did you think of the new setup?
Dude, loved it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I think this was my favorite because, dude, our teams were so crazy. I ended up playing Veers Shoreline, so I
Yeah.
took Veers with a set of the speeder bikes
Mm-hmm.
and an ATST. Yeah, it's not the most cohesive list, but it let me put things on the table I wanted to play
Yeah.
in a way that I could have fun. And I kind of wanted to test the waters to see, okay, how does an ATST play with these objectives? How does a speeder bike? Because I don't feel like the speeder bikes get used, period, for the Empire.
No.
They throw a lot of dice, but they're
Not
wide
very
defense
popular
dice.
in play,
Yeah.
which is a shame because they're a cool unit. I like them a lot, actually.
Yeah, like it was really cool, and it's key that you can only explode one bomb.
Yeah.
So I think you do have to stagger. But I'll say this, like, I think War Weary it really heavily is going to favor the Empire in the future. I think you'll
Yeah.
see that taking. I think you'll see that over minefields.
Okay, so that's really interesting that you say that War Weary is going to favor the Empire because I feel the opposite. Because rebels have tons of units that have a high courage value,
That's true.
so they're not panicking as quickly.
That's true. Well, let's talk about that.
Because that's kind of how our game ended up being.
Well, our game was kind of like back and
Yeah,
forth
yeah.
because like I panicked your Tons off
Yeah.
the board, but
Yeah,
your Wookiees.
that was super
okay,
disgusting.
game changer. So we played the match, and what we ended up doing was playing all three things. So we played the new deployment, the new objective, the new condition card. And so his Tons, I got 5 suppression, and they panicked off the board.
Yeah, and you hate to see it.
And you hate to see it. You hate to see it, Jim. But they did. They panicked, and that was one turn. They just took a hard turn off the board.
Yeah.
But the Wookiees, next turn, I had 6 suppression on them with Indomitable.
Yep.
They rolled 5.
Yep.
Wild. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Red defense die on the saves for the rally step, incredible. I think this. You know, we talk about this, and we'll bring it up again later with like what the meta is. We've talked about it last podcast episode as well. People don't really like taking Wookiees as much. People don't really like taking vehicles as much. But these new objectives, I feel, will push you to make those decisions to incorporate to incorporate units like that in your list from now on. Wookiees having Indomitable to be able to reroll those red dice, or to roll those red dice for rally. Vehicles to be able to say or to be able to deploy at an advanced position, especially heavies with the tanks, the ATST. That's going to be great. So I think with those in mind, people are going to not only build lists with more of those in them, but they'll also be making bids for blue player so they can use the cards that are going to favor the vehicle play.
So you can force War Weary, force
Yeah.
rollout, and I'll be honest, bombing run. It's just so much fun to play.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I'm not saying it's gonna be meta for people like droids. I would never take bombing run as a droid player. I don't know if I'd take it as a clone player. At least not right now.
No.
Unless I was running triple speeder barks.
Right. Bombing run with clones kind of seems counterintuitive because you can't all run up, you know?
Well, it's just like if you do, you lose that ability to hunker down.
Yeah.
You lose that ability to be together.
I mean, I guess if you just have a ragtag duo unit, you know, just with Kenobi and maybe 2 clone units with the bombs.
That's true.
They're gonna you're gonna try and shoot Kenobi or the clones. Kenobi can Guardian,
Oh, and like maybe leave Rex behind to protect everybody.
but
I could
I'm
see
talking
that.
like bare bones clone units. Just go get it done. But I mean, that's a lot of units to dedicate yourself away if you're gonna talk about also bringing the Saber class tank in there. That's a whole lot of theory crafting we'll have to think about when we get to that point.
I will say this though about it too is that it's nice that vehicles can take. I mean, think about the T-47. So the T-47 can take a bomb, and then it can drop a bomb,
Yeah.
and it has armor,
Yeah.
and it goes over all the terrain. Like it
Yeah.
basically just flies over any terrain. You could see it getting play. I don't know if
Yeah.
it will all the time because I think Tauntauns, especially rebel wise.
Right.
What do you think for as a rebel player?
So like this is kind of going back to why my Tauntauns panicked in the first place is that I played it super. I wouldn't say aggressively. I played more of a high risk situation. I put all 3 of my bombs on units that were right next to the edge. When I knew if they got panicked, they were gonna fly off the edge. Right? That's not what you want to see. However, because Tauntauns and Wookiees both have high courage values, they were able to last a little bit longer. And yeah, like you said, you panicked one of the Tauntauns and they flew off. But because the Wookiees were able to then go forward, detonate one, they were able to run back to get the one that the Tauntauns dropped and grab that.
Ugh.
Meanwhile, my rebels that had an objective token, we're able to go and run that. Because I didn't give both of my Tauntauns objective tokens, which hindsight maybe I should have. But there's a lot of things you could there's a lot of variables there, because the Tauntauns ended up going and getting your Shore Troopers objective token that I killed.
It was an interesting thing too, because like with the Shores, and I think because the Shores, they don't want to move too much.
Right.
To be completely honest, they don't want to move a lot. They kind of want to set up. They want to be able to relay. And so it was interesting because I made a mistake in giving one of them the bomb.
Right.
Because I thought, okay, I've got enough Shores. These Shores, these Mortars can take care of it. These guys will run forward. They've got the red saves. They'll throw some dice because they can take out Rebel Troopers. But when you played almost like kind of like in football back in the day. You used to play the flying wing formation where they'd block for people. You kind of played like that. And it was really cool to see.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Because like the Tauntauns gave cover, the ATRT, while it didn't attack, gave cover to the Tauntauns. It was just a line of cover. So like, oh, you killed that unit? Well, I still got this unit. Okay, you killed that unit, but I'm already there. So it was really, it helped. It also helped that I had, for the first time in a long time, I played ions on my Rebel Trooper units. So I was able to ionize your ATST. I was able to ionize your speeder bike to slow them down. So that helped quite a bit, I feel like. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Dude, I agree. Well, it doesn't help that we both knew what the objective was. So, like, we kind of went into it knowing.
Right.
But, I don't know. It was interesting. This is the thing. I knew it was going to happen, so I brought the Astromech. And so I don't feel like the Ion token ever affected the gameplay.
Right.
I will say this, though. In the future, like, if this happens... Because I foresee Ion becoming something where maybe you'll bring one Ion Trooper.
Yeah.
Or maybe you'll just bring something with impact, like a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
I didn't think it affected that much.
Well, I remember your speeder bikes took a negative effect from that for sure. Your ATST, you were able to just
heal it.
Yeah.
I think the most negative thing was the speeder bike that won. The leader who had the bomb was out. He was just out of cover a little bit.
Yeah.
And so
Chewie.
So Chewie freaking took out the lead speeder bike, which meant that the bomb got dropped.
Yeah.
And this is one thing I will say about speeder bikes with the bomb is I hadn't even thought about this. Because he had to drop the objective. Mm-hmm. And when you compulsory, you compulsory pass the objective. Which meant I couldn't pick it up again. And that was a really hard thing because I'm like, well, at that point, I'm not spending a turn or two to flip around and pick it up.
Yeah.
Whoever's behind me has to pick that up because I'm flying forward.
Well, and your unit behind you had an objective token, so they couldn't get a second one.
They already had one, yeah. And because they were the troopers that had the Astromech. And so it's like, well... That was, I think that plus your Wookiees rallying was were so crucial to the game.
I would agree wholeheartedly. And like you said, we both knew going in that's what the game was going to be. So we built our lists around it. But I think that's like the perfect storm to test this kind of stuff. Like both sides giving it their all with the exact right upgrades it was meant to be played, and see how it goes, right? Because I feel like if I hadn't brought any vehicles, if I hadn't brought any sort of creature troopers or anything like that to help run fast or whatever, I would have suffered greatly from it.
Yeah, and I think that's bombing run, as fun as it is. I don't know if it's going to be a shore trooper objective.
Yeah,
because they're not very mobile. They're mobile, but they're not super mobile. Yeah. Or if you do, you're gonna have to pick people like Boba.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to pick like speeder bikes. You're gonna have to pick fast units that can do it for you.
Yeah. Now here's an idea.
Yes.
Now hear me out.
Okay. I know where you're going with this. We haven't talked about this, but I know he's about to mention the Dewback.
No, I wasn't going to mention
really?
the Dewback.
Okay,
no.
I thought you were going to mention that.
No. I mean the Dewback, yes.
Okay.
But R2-D2
gets
the bombing run, and then he pops it, right? But then he gets a secret mission. He's right next to the objective.
Do you know how dirty that's going to be? Because, oh my god.
That's going to just be a spit in the face of your opponent.
It is. It's so dirty. And because of the way secret mission works, you don't want to pop bounty on him.
No.
Oh my gosh. That's going to be... Oh,
and you can't shoot.
Dirty.
And you can't shoot R2 unless... If there's someone else. He's the Biggs of Legion.
Yeah, that's a good way to put him. He's Biggs.
Yeah.
Until they come out with Biggs.
Until they come out with Biggs, exactly.
He's got like Guardian 4.
Yeah.
White
dies
saves.
instantly.
Yeah, white
If
saves.
Luke Skywalker's on the table, Biggs dies.
When Biggs dies, Rebels gain 2 victories.
Yeah, I hate to see it. Oh
You'll
my
love
gosh.
to Rip.
Yeah, so, I mean, overall, again, I'll ask you the same question. Play experience, out of 10, what would you say that game was?
Honestly, it was like an 8. Now, granted, it wasn't it wasn't like the optimal list.
Yeah.
It wasn't all this, but I can see in the future people taking these. We're not quite to the point yet where I think you'll be like, okay, I have a list that's gonna take these objectives and these objectives. Like if you're running Sabine, like I could see people doing minefields, bombing run, and then Sabine. Like you just for the sake of blowing the crap out of people. Would it be super effective? Probably not. Would it be fun?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because you blew up a group of you sacrificed your Wookiees at the very end. Then
A
blew up
Wookiee
bomb.
mini, yeah.
Yeah, because they took a lot of hits.
But I mean, if that meant an objective win, like
it was crazy. Yeah.
I'll take that any day. I'll kill myself. Seppuku for the win.
It's Sudoku.
Seppuku, the Japanese method of suicide.
Isn't it Sudoku?
No, that's the puzzle game.
Commit Sudoku.
All right, so I already have a 4 there.
Oh, that's right. Is it the one with? Oh, it's the boxes and the lines,
Yeah,
right?
it's the crossword of the 21st century.
Oh my gosh, I just committed Sudoku on the podcast. Hey Jim, oh, man, Bob's been in the bathroom. What's he doing? Oh, he's committing Sudoku in there.
Oh man, he does
gosh.
it in pen, I hear. Oh,
Jim, you got
my
red
gosh.
pen all over your hands. Everything okay?
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
gosh, man. Okay, so
I'm never gonna let you live that one down.
Never.
It's
welcome to the 801st where we commit Sudoku daily. Exercise your mind.
Exercise your mind was. It only takes one
okay.
person.
So, big question.
Okay.
What factions should consider... sorry, this is totally...
Yeah.
I'm still thinking Sudoku.
You just can't get it off your mind. It's fine.
I'll see myself out. Yeah.
Just your footsteps going away.
But real question, which factions and what lists should consider taking these objectives? Or are the characters not out yet? Like, where would these objectives fit in the best?
So, as far as what we know so far with the characters that are coming out soon, Iden, Cassian, soon to be operatives, Luke and Vader. But Iden, Cassian, and Vader are going to have infiltrate. Now, at first you'd be like, oh yeah, just pop them with an objective token. Remember, if they're not in the deployment zone, they can't receive an objective token.
It's kind of a catch-22
Yeah.
with the vehicles, especially where
Yeah.
you're like, oh cool, I can deploy further out. But that means you're not getting an objective token.
Yeah.
And I think an ATST is a great way to carry it without getting killed.
Right. Well, and like getting a tank or an ATST right on the corner of your deployment zone to give your units some time with cover, great play. You could give a vehicle you gave it to your speeder bikes. It's not, and what's great, other objectives is like no vehicles, no creature troopers, they can't do objectives. But it specifies in this objective that any unit can receive it. So, I mean, you're going to have to decide, do you want your really healthy tank to go out there and get killed because it's just chasing the objective, or do you want it to provide the supporting fire? It's a
big
call
one.
you have to make when you make your list.
So then what list should consider these objectives?
I
Or do
think-
any consider them?
I think the faction that will want this the most are the Rebels.
The Rebels.
They have high courage values. Okay, Luke having... Because they're going to be shot at every single time.
That's true.
Right? They're going to get shot at a lot. And they have to have good saves, right? They have to have... So the optimal units you would want to give these to, Tauntauns, Wookiees, but then even above that, which I didn't bring, Luke, Sabine. They're getting red defense dice, and they have a high courage value.
That's true.
So if they were playing both of them with Bombing Run and War Weary, they're going to have the courage value to match it.
That's probably... I think you're right. That's probably the way to go. I mean... On the other side, if maybe Empire, if you run like Boba Vader, because Vader's not going to get suppressed, he'll just keep walking.
I do feel however,
Maybe with IRGs or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I do feel, however, that War Weary, while you may bring it just to piss your opponent off, I feel like it's going to be the same as Hostile Environment, where people don't really want to bring it because it could backfire.
So it's maybe the one you take to force something else.
Right. Yeah, it's like a little padding to get what you want. I think Bombing Run is going to be a staple with Rebels, and like I can see why you would say Empire would take it a lot. But honestly,
I think you're right. It's
Phase
more
2
Rebels.
clones having red saves and a 2 courage value, that's pretty good.
That's true. It's not really an evil faction kind of thing.
No.
Because you think about the droids. Droids don't want War Weary, and Bombing Run. Like you can get. I think if they were to come out with like Staps or something.
Yeah.
But the only people that I would really trust to take the bombs up front would be like Grievous, and I want Grievous in the fray.
Yeah,
Or Droidicas because they can go into wheel mode. But then you have to take that risk of,
Yeah.
okay, I have to activate them near the end, make sure they don't get shot. And if you do that, you're just...
I mean, you could conga line your droids up there, right?
guess that's true.
Like if you just dedicated all of your droids, because they can't get suppressed, they can only panic, right? So maybe you do just conga line with Grievous and just focus 100% on the objective, and then you kill. Like, I don't
That's
know.
true.
What does that situation look like, right?
It's hard because you also... I'll be honest, so with the bomb, when it blows up, it's 3 reds.
Yeah, and the
don't-
droids aren't surviving
The
that.
droids are not surviving that. So if you've got...
Granted, that's only a third of their unit, but...
It's that's true. That's true. But I feel like if you get up there, you're not gonna have 8 units. Like you're gonna have 6.
You're probably going to have 6 just
You're
because
gonna
you're
start
running
with
them bare
6 or
bones.
7. Yeah, probably bare bones. Because you'll probably have droidicas or something.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna take Dooku. Oh, you maybe take Dooku. But
yeah.
Definitely not the droids. The droids don't want this.
Yeah.
Clones maybe. Especially with War Weary. I think clones could do well with War Weary because they want to be close to each other at the moment. Not super, but they could.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I think advanced positions, though, that's going to be anyone that wants to play vehicles.
Oh,
or not,
yeah.
rollout, not advanced positions. I think anyone that wants to play vehicles, well, it doesn't matter your faction. That's going to be, like, the one you go for. To be able to have an advanced deployment. Like, we had the perfect storm of all 3, right? Let's say you coupled clear conditions with rollout with breakthrough. That's insane. If you did rollouts, because that means I could plant my tank, even with the clones, right, with the Saber class or the AAT with the droids, plant my tank for this massive piece of mobile cover, and then I just bring all of my clones in a pod, getting dodge tokens and sharing surges. I don't even care if you kill me. I'm just going straight for the objective. Just this clear line that they're getting cover to from the tank at all times.
Isn't that crazy? Well, imagine this too. You run limited viz. Mm-hmm. You move up, you're not getting shot.
Right.
I mean, your opponent's going to have to move. Well, you could, but your opponent's probably moving and shooting. They're not aiming and shooting. And that also, you take limited viz, you're not getting Veers' orbital bombardment with impact. Or Leia.
Yeah, and that's true. Like, and how...
Orbital bombardment with Leia.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, and how much of your army do you dedicate to that as well? Because, like, clones and droids, like... Okay, maybe not so much droids, but clones, Empire, they're going to have less activations, I feel, naturally than the Rebels or the droids will. So if you just dedicate yourself to just going all for the objective... And that's a debate as old as time, right?
Well, I think we saw that in our game, too, because
Yeah.
I see where you're going, where I had to split my focus, and my short troopers, who were kind of there to hold the line, I gave them a bomb and it backfired, because they had a different focus I needed to give them to, and that was a bad play on my part. But I feel that really influenced the game.
No, I wholeheartedly agree.
But it'll definitely be a fun one to play. Like, I think everybody should give it a try.
Yeah. Geez, that should have been our main topic of the podcast, because that was like a whole 30 minutes of content right there. And
a lot of
so thanks, Will. Thanks for the question. We really appreciate you. As always, we are always taking these recommendations, these questions on our Discord or YouTube comment section. Leave it there for us, and we'll hopefully get to it that very next episode. So again, thanks, Will.
Yeah, well, I guess... What did you think about LVO?
LVO was a great time. We talked about it a little bit already, but man, I thought, like, because this was my first LVO as a Legion player, like, watching. I didn't go, obviously, but watching it and seeing, like, some higher tier people that, you know, have been playing this game since launch, that know what they're doing. It was a sight to see. Like, I mentioned this to you, some of the players with their finesse on, like, how they place tokens, how they're placing their movement tools, such precise movements and placements. Like, I aspire to be that someday. Like, that is great to see.
Do you know it's something I haven't seen people here do it, and I haven't even seen people in bat reps do it all that much, or even in other play. But Luke Cook did this, and I loved it, where he would drop the measuring tool there, and then he would move.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So you're not just like, oh crap, did I get it? Did I not get it? There were cool things I saw people do. Like, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to the droids. I was so proud. Double the fall.
Yeah.
Those lists performed really well.
Yeah.
They performed. My droid boys representing. Did they make it to the top 8?
No. But they did great.
But they did well. Gives me hope for the future.
Yeah, no, I think the lists overall were very interesting to see, because, you know, going into that, we were thinking, triple tauntauns, heavy strike team emphasis, and there was a lot of it, don't get me wrong, but I feel like those teams that were caught in the last year's meta suffered. And granted, tauntauns have not been around for that long.
Or the shores, yeah.
Right. So, like, this is the kind of the reason I want to bring this up. I think we overestimated just how dramatic the Tauntauns were. We were all really pretty worried, like me included, right? Like,
Yeah.
everyone was saying, "Oh, triple Tauntauns are broken." I didn't see the Tauntauns win. Granted, yeah, you're looking at skilled players, right? Like anything can happen, but I didn't see triple Tauntauns in the finals or semifinals even.
No, at least I know there was a game that played that I didn't really see. It was off.
Yeah, and that's a shame too,
But-
because they only had one table to watch. They would just keep
That's
us
true.
updated as much as they could.
That's true.
And if you're like me, that was just playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 while you were listening, sometimes
Then you were playing clones versus droids. Anyways.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But
I was playing my own Legion.
but yeah, it was interesting. Empire was there a lot.
Yep.
Do you know how I honestly thought was the star and he won the game? Palpatine, man.
Oh yeah.
Palps. I mean, how often do we see Palp around here?
Not
even
at
in
all.
other places?
Like we've seen him played in this area maybe like 2 or 3 times.
I think, and Will ran him for his first time ever, like 2 weeks ago at that tournament. Dude, Palp is good.
Yeah.
Palp is way good.
Yeah, he's really great at what he does, and I think, and that's my point. That's the whole thing we talked about last episode. Not just my point, but your point as well, Matt. That the meta is just on a new game. I should just stop saying the meta because there is none, right? Sure, there are things that are super good at the time, right? But there is nothing saying that the unit that comes out this Friday is going to completely counter that, This game has enough releases to where, like, the meta is never in stone. Whereas I feel like maybe, like, with something a little older or maybe just a game of a different beast, I don't know. Like, it's just, I don't feel like, I'm just going to say it. People needed to chill out about the taunts.
Oh, no,
right?
you are 100% right.
Like,
yeah.
I was trying not to say it because I didn't want to come across as too abrasive, but people calling out Tauntauns are broken. Shore Troopers were broken, Dude, they're good, but they were not, they didn't win,
Oh my gosh, how many times? And Recover the Supplies, dude, I think people picked objectives that were good. And I think that's the key to this is people, in Armada you play, like, I always bring it back to Armada, but like, the objective play is how you win the game. And Legion is specifically made to be that way unless you're playing and you tie on like Evaporators. You tie on your points, cool, you go to kill. But like Recover the Supplies, man.
Yeah.
It's win or lose.
We've talked about it before. I've won a game with Recover the Supplies with two units.
Oh my gosh, that was so annoying. That was so annoying.
And it's possible, And that's what I love about this game is that there is never a point where you can say, I'm going to lose this for certain. There's enough times where we played where we're like, we can call it. Like, we kind of have an idea of where this is going. We're short for time, so we're just going to call it and say this is how it would go. But I'm sure if we played it out to the end on those games, it would be pretty, I don't want to say decisive, and it would be
there are
closer.
times and there are also times what's going to happen by turn 4. And so it's
Right.
like, I could scrimp a little bit, but I know it's going.
And I think that's actually probably my biggest problem with these new objectives going back a little bit is that with Bombing Run, we knew the game was over. That's like the one where I would retract my previous statement.
We played, just to let everybody know, we played through turn 4, but by the end of turn 4, we knew.
Yeah.
Like, it was just...
I had blocked him off from
knew what was going on.
Yeah. Anyways, back to LVO. I just think that the lists that were there were super good. I am really saddened by one thing. The speeder was not there. The T-47, man.
With the buzzer beater.
The buzzer beater.
The Kobe. Oh, gosh. Dude.
Yeah, you hate to see it because I love that thing.
What's funny, because it was one of very few cards.
Yeah.
Or even units that wasn't brought, period.
Yeah.
There were a lot of lists with, like, tanks and stuff. Dude, there was a lot of ATSTs. That was cool.
It makes you wonder, right? We just got an errata last year, not even 6 months ago. Do you think they'd lower the point value, or do you think they'd rework at all any further on the speeder? After the rework, it's still not getting played at a big tournament like that. At all. Like, it's not like you can't say like, oh yeah, it's not getting played because only a few people. Like, it is straight up, literally not getting played.
Like, zilch.
Not figuratively.
Zero.
Nobody brought it. That's crazy to me.
It's crazy, and I actually have a response to that because I've been thinking about it, and I don't know if I talked to you about this or who I talked to about this. Maybe it was Will or something, but I think that what's cool about the new objectives, the new condition cards, deployment cards, is like with Wookiees, for example. I think Wookiees are going to be another option to take instead of tauns. Tauns are going to be great with the new
Absolutely.
objectives and stuff. But those Wookiees rolling those Indomitable, it's good. I think here's the thing. Nerfs always feel bad.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything should get nerfed. And I understand points changes are there, but there's a balance and tipping point. So I think the best way to do it is moving forward, you just release new objectives, new
Right.
conditions, new deployments. So it's
Yeah.
like maybe do a deployment that's like, speeders can do like, or maybe round 1 they don't have to compulsory, or if they can, they just kind of like this new
Yeah.
one. Like you do things to make it better, and I think especially with rollout, dude, like imagine this: like he's your speeder, it goes speed 3. Like this is just a hypothetical use with it. Compulsory speed 3. You take out a sniper team, turn 1.
Yeah.
You move,
Or-
move, you move, shoot. It's done.
Or we give them the bomb. They no rollout. We give them the bomb in the deployment zone. Compulsory move, double move. They're already in the objective. They drop the bomb, but guess what? They're immune to range 1
They're
attacks.
immune, so they don't hurt themselves.
That would be awesome.
That would be way cool. And then get this, they're fast enough that if you do that turn 2, you could flip around, because you can drop your own objective. You flip around, pick up somebody else's objective,
Oh yeah.
and then by turn 4 or 5,
That's gonna be some tight flying if you're gonna go pick up someone else's
well,
objective.
maybe
though.
that's why you take the what is the outer rim bush pilot or
Oh,
something.
the Rider Azadi. Yeah.
Riders, whoever it is that lets you do turn 2 speeds or whatever.
Well, it decreases your speed by 1 if you need. Yeah. It's
During
exhaustible,
the
but it's good.
compulsory. Yeah, because that way you can get your tight turns. Dude, really cool stuff. Like,
Yeah. No,
there are
actually, I'm
some
glad you brought that
things.
up because dang, like now I joked about it last podcast, but now I think I really do want to get another speeder just to be like, all right, I'm gonna go for this. By the way, I'm deploying my speeders. Round 1, I've won. Good game.
Yeah, like, well, what's crazy too is like, imagine you give them, I don't know, can they take uplinks? HQ uplinks?
Yes.
So imagine this, you HQ.
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Because then what you could do with HQ uplinks is you could just, imagine this, you compulsory recover move.
Oh, yeah.
So you get, and then every turn you can HQ uplink, and then you don't have to move to the end because the bombs, when you drop them in the deployment zones, they explode.
Yeah.
So what's nice is you could outweight people, drop the bombs so they can't pick them up, blow their own units up with them, and you've got armor and speeder anyways, so you're getting cover. It'll be hard to kill.
Okay, no,
There are some
I
uses.
want to eat my words now. I'm eating my words because you're right. Like that is a totally valid thing that the speeders can do now. That'll make them good.
It'll be interesting.
Better.
But granted, with that, you have to get that deployment,
Yeah.
that objective, and that's why I'm saying give it. We don't know what the rest of the stuff in the pack
even
is
if it's
yet.
not
That's
that
the thing.
objective, right? Maybe it's just one or the other. Maybe we just have rollout. I'm deploying ahead of everyone else, and normally I don't like to play the speeder up front because I like for it to come into round 2 where your units are already a little bit scattered, so I can use my back gun.
pick up, yeah.
Yeah. However, if I could get both of my speeders like in shooting range to be with their compulsory move, just to then aim and shoot. Holy cow! I'm gonna destroy your droids, your rebels. Maybe not Empire and clones as much, but if I can get rid of an activation, because they're throwing 3 red and 3 black. If they're shooting a clone unit or an Empire unit and destroying an activation before you even have a chance, that's huge.
Yeah, and
That's 300 points, but hey,
it's a lot of points. I think that's where you're gonna be hard pressed to do stuff because you
Yeah.
could also take the land speeder,
Yeah.
load up somebody on it, drop
True
them off.
that.
That's the thing.
you
It's
can
just,
load R2D2 up on it
yeah, with the bomb.
with the bomb.
It's interesting. I
you can give the speeder and R2 a bomb.
No, yeah, exactly. And they can't both to blow their bombs up on a turn, but you drop R2D2 off, he drops the
Yeah.
bomb. Next turn you fly, drop it off. But that's my thing. I think give people more objectives that will play to the strengths of
Yeah.
the characters.
Oh yeah,
And that's how you do it.
yeah. Play this like I love that playing to the strengths because also like vehicles having that extra little bit. This is coming out with vital assets, which is also going to have hostage exchange. If I can deploy my Saber class tank or your AAT and just blow your hostage up, my guy.
Like, that's crazy. Well, especially, like, think about the AAT where it can
Yeah.
attack twice.
Yes.
With barrage.
Oh
like,
gosh.
oh my gosh, like, that's wild. Like, okay, cool. Like, and the nice thing is the AAT has a big base. That means measurements are much closer.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to move that far, and maybe you don't have to move at all.
Yeah.
Dude, well, you still have to because range 1 keeps you pretty close. But one movement, There's
it's all
fun
it takes,
things.
man.
There's fun things, but yeah, it was interesting to see LVO, and I think you're right about kind of like the chilling out.
Yeah, no,
Completely.
I think that's, I don't know. Like, I don't want to throw shade at anyone by that either. I'm just saying, like, we all thought wrong. I'm included in that, you know?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I wonder how much of this we'll see roll into Worlds, or if people suddenly all run Palpatine at Worlds,
Yep.
because of Luke Cook.
Well, I mean, getting back on track here, we did talk about, you know, we went back to those objectives quite a bit this podcast, but it was a very exciting part of our week. So yeah, I mean, LVO was great. It was a great time. But moving on, we want to talk about the main, and I feel like we've already talked about this a little bit as well. But the main point of this, or the main topic of this podcast, we wanted to talk about the tournament mindset. Matt, when you hear the words tournament mindset, what do you think of?
It's I think the first thing that comes to mind is competitive.
Yeah.
I think immediately you think competitive, but I think there's two ways to think about it.
Yeah.
I think the one way is, first of all, like I said, being very competitive, wanting to win.
Yeah.
How do I build a list? How do I just compete? And
Yeah.
the second one is, how do I go have a good time with a lot
Right.
of people, enjoy what I want to do,
Yeah.
and man, just have the opportunity to play more than one game in a day.
Right. Well, and the reason I bring this up too is because, like, we've seen a lot of people, especially at LVO, they don't talk a lot. They just play the game. And you had a phrase this week that I really appreciated. You said, when you're serious in a game at a tournament, you can joke all you want at other games, but when you're at the tournament, that's your time to play. That's when you're competitive. That's when you're in your competitive environment. That's when your list of lists are there. That's what your craft is down, and this is you're showing your stuff. And I really like that because you and we play a lot together. We joke a lot when we play. We talk. It takes us a couple extra hours just to finish the game because we're just having fun.
We're just shooting the crap.
Yeah, we're just having a good
shooting
time.
the breeze.
Now let me ask you this: if without us discussing this right now, like, let's imagine this conversation didn't happen. If we showed up to a tournament and we got paired up round one and I just didn't talk to you the whole game, or maybe I was just like, all right, I'm going to do this. You know, like, we just basic communications. I didn't joke with you at all. I was just 100% focused on the game. Would you take offense to that?
Absolutely. No, I'm just kidding. Like, who is this guy? Not talking to me. It's funny because no, not at all. I would love it. I think for me,
because that's the reason I say this.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine.
Yeah, because the reason I say this is because we had a couple people come up to us, and I'm not going to lie, I got kind of irritated with this new objective because I was very concentrated on it. Like this last time when we played these new objectives and conditions, people would come up and talk to us, and I'm just like so focused. I was getting irritated. I was like, come on, just leave us alone. Like, I'm trying to focus. And granted, it's just a casual game, so I'm not actually going to get mad over that.
Yeah, no, but like there's a moment where you're like kind of in the zone.
Right.
And I compare it to sports because like there's rec league sports. And that's a helicopter.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry, guys, they found us.
We gotta go.
Run. Get out of here.
Kobe. Oh, no.
Too soon. His ghost. He's
Gosh
found us.
dang it.
It's funny, we talk about competitive sports and then
We say that.
the helicopters.
I'm just the worst.
But,
I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's fun. But it's funny because like I think competitive sports, you look at athletes out there like they're not really. Sometimes they're talking and all that stuff, but it's like you get into that Zen mode.
Yeah.
And this is my favorite part, and I think why a lot of us love the game is, first of all, we're playing with the characters we want to play with. Dude, it's a toy game. You are, but there's also that strategic aspect and that tactical aspect where the cogs are moving in your brain, and you're kind of it's the chess thing.
Yeah.
I find it interesting in chess that like there are like no talk rules.
Right.
And they use clocks to time things.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like with tennis that same way too, and golf. But now that's not for everybody.
Right.
But I wouldn't say that the people out there are not enjoying themselves. I would say that they kind of play for those moments.
Right.
And I think there's, with all things, there is a time and a place.
Yeah.
I think when you're just playing casually, like at your FLGS game nights going on, don't do that.
Right.
Don't have that. But when you are at a tournament, like I think it's key to gauge who you're playing with.
Yeah.
And know what's going on. Because sometimes I've played against people in tournaments and in competitive scenes where they are there. Maybe it's their first tournament. Maybe they've only been to a couple tournaments, or they are just a talkative personality, or maybe even they're having a bad time.
Right.
And you always know that moment where you do something really good and you feel good.
Yeah.
but you can tell your opponent is just
Yes.
not having it. And I feel like it's important to gauge those moments. And even though that tournament time is your time to play, it's your time to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so key that you reach out to them and like say, oh man, like that was a really good roll. Like
Yeah.
and I not to just downplay yourself, but say something like, oh man, like that was a lucky roll for me. Just
Right.
bring some levity to the situation,
Yeah.
and it's all about gauging it. I guess. What do you think?
never.
What's your take
No, I
on the
wholeheartedly
tournament
agree with
mindset?
you. Like, you never want to make someone have a negative play experience.
Yeah.
You never want someone to leave a tournament and never want to come back because you beat them so bad and you like made them feel bad about it. Because I've lost terribly at games, but I feel like we said before, you never lose when you're having fun, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
And so like, yeah, that's a perfect way to do it. Like if you feel like you're winning really well and you could just easily throw in a couple like, oh man, I got really lucky there, you know?
I thought you had me there.
Yeah.
And just build them up a little bit. Emphasize what they did good.
Yeah, emphasize what you did good. Yeah, that's a great way to put it because at the end of every game, you and I are the kind of people who are like, all right, break down what happened, what went wrong, what went good. I'll tell you this from a personal experience with someone here in the community at a X-Wing tournament, I beat them really badly, and they were like, oh, okay, yeah, that was a bad game for me. I got trounced over by rules. Or by dice rolls, not rules.
Well, it happens to everybody.
Right. He just had terrible rolls, but in the end, it was actually because I very much outmaneuvered him. And so I was like, well, I mean, are you the kind of person that likes to break it down? Because I want everyone to do as well as they can. And like, if I could give you a piece of advice that I feel like would help you in your next round, I want you to have a better round. Like I want you to do that. And so, oh yeah, please. And I was like, look. You let me just come back behind you and just blow you up. Like you shouldn't have let me go around that asteroid and just you thought I was like going for your other guy, but you knew I was going to go for your ace, And this is back in 1.0 where that was more important.
Yeah.
But he got mad at me after that. He was like, "Dude, like come on, it's just a game." I was like, "No, I asked you if you wanted feedback and you said yes, you would love that. So I gave you feedback." So, and that's why it's so important for you, like you said, gauge your opponent, right? You never want to be like, all right, yeah, your Tauntauns, they overextended themselves. You don't want to do that. Like, unless if they're receptive to it and they're going to listen to you. I should have thought about it more what I said. Like, looking back, I could have been like, yeah, no, like I could have emphasized his strengths more a little bit. I didn't do that, and I learned from it.
It's interesting because like you want to. I feel like it's you bring up such a good point where like you kind of want to offer a little bit of that olive branch, kind of maybe mid game. And I do think like for example LVO when everybody's watching, I gotta hand it to the commentators. Like they were so key on like being quiet. Like they had their voices real quiet.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to influence the people
Right.
playing. I think situations like that don't talk at all. Right. I think just for the sake of your opponent, just be very quiet. Yeah. You don't want to come off as influential or maybe like throw them off their game. But like at store tournaments and things, dude, I think gauge the situation, offer an olive branch, see what kind of personality they are. Do they want to talk during the game? Do they not? But I've had that same experience as you where like there's some people that are you if you win, they'll be mad. And if they lose, they'll make you feel bad.
Right.
So it's kind of like, how do you react? But I guess that comes down to your tournament mindset. Like, what kind of tournament player do you want to be? I guess. Right. How do you move on from there?
Yeah, I am just like going back to what I said earlier. Off that though, I just feel like if you're as passionate about this game as we are, it's totally okay if you wanted to be reserved. Of course, after the game, you need to lighten up. You can't be in that mindset all day, or else people are just going to think you're an a-hole. Like you need during your breaks or during your lunch break. You need to go socialize with people. You need to talk about your games. You want to interact with people because if you're that guy that's just in the corner by himself, just with the towel, just focusing on your next game, at a local tournament, that you're going to be an a-hole. Just cut and dry.
And there's something to be said about like building those friendships there. Like, dude, it's so nice to have people who are like your friends around, especially and. Being able to put your arm around somebody and like have that good time. Yeah, there's something to be said about that. And this winning game, graciously, especially.
Right. And like you said earlier, it's a toy game. Like we build it up. It's a war game. It's a toy game. Like it's fun and we like it. It's strategic, but it's still us playing with miniature toys because we enjoy it. Right. It's fun first and foremost. It's strategic second. Right. Like that's why we love this game.
Oh, absolutely. And like, I have to agree 100%.
And I don't want to downplay that. Like there's nothing wrong with saying it's a toy game. That doesn't make you less of an adult.
No,
if
not at
you
all.
if you like playing with toys, like we obviously do. That we're freaking 25-year-old men
25 and older, like dude,
playing toy games and making a podcast about it.
Yeah.
Of course we don't care about that.
and older, like it's just interesting. So from the other side of it, how do you get into a tournament mindset? Like what kind of things do you need to have if you want to be a more competitive person in a tournament? Like what are you thinking?
I know this sounds really cliche, but make sure you get a good night's sleep. Make sure you eat a good breakfast, because the last thing you want to be doing when you're playing a high stakes game is to be tired. You're gonna make the wrong decisions. You're gonna make misplays all over the place, and you're gonna roll bad.
You are. Yeah. You just are. And dude, it's so weird, but I feel like if I'm in a good mood, I always roll well. Is that a weird thing to say?
Well,
like,
it's like how we started testing. If you throw the dice rather than just roll it, they roll better for you.
it's so weird. I always find that like if I don't roll, but I just like slide my hand out real quick, I don't know why, but I always feel like whites roll crits when I do that.
Hey,
weird thing,
you
but
got
it's
it.
it's what I do.
No, but anyways, like make sure you sleep well, eat a good breakfast. You make sure that you're early to the tournament. I would have everything. I honestly, people do this all the time, and I don't know why. I don't know if it helps these people or what. Only bring your list. Don't bring your extra stuff. It's just more stuff you have to worry about.
Oh, especially for setup time. You don't get much setup time.
Right. Just bring your a small tray with all your upgrades, all your dice, all your tokens, all your minis. Just bring them in a tray or a small box, and just be ready to move from table to table. Because while I don't have much experience with X-Wing tournament or with Legion tournaments, I have more experience with X-Wing tournaments. And it's the same concept. You want to be ready to just move on to the next game. Like you never want to be that guy that's like dilly-dallying and like taking their time while your opponent's ready to go.
I think time is a big thing as well. Yeah. Like you only have 2 hours, sometimes 2 hours and 30. If you spend that half hour setting up, dude, you just lost a half hour play. That's a whole turn.
Right.
Like
and
what if you're now you don't win now you don't win because you didn't claim that objective. You didn't get there. You didn't get the kill points.
Yeah, forget what nothing about you being that guy. Forget all that. We're talking about just you not being ready to go.
Yes.
Your mind is not ready to. And if you're a competitive person, that should matter to you.
Well, it's funny because it's like playing sports growing up. I did rugby and tennis, but if I hadn't,
which are weird combos, but
so weird, especially because it's the same time of year.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, there was one year because I was doing both. I ended up dropping 40 pounds.
Nice.
Because I bulk for rugby.
Yeah.
And then tennis, you kind of get a lot of cardio in.
Yeah.
And then tennis also goes through summer.
Right.
So it's funny.
Yeah.
Side
Anyways.
note. But dude, if you show up and your jerseys aren't washed, you're not wearing clean sock stuff, dude, your mind's not on it. Your mind's not in it. And for that as well, I think there's something to be said about being decisive.
Yeah.
Your opponent, I think you want to be quick. You want to take your time. You want to think, but I think it's fair for you to also have a good pace so your opponent can have as much time as you do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't want to be too slow.
Exactly. Like in a 2 hour game, you shouldn't be taking. Some people will take longer. I'll admit that, but you shouldn't be taking an hour and a half of the time for your own turns and giving your opponent only a half hour.
Yeah.
And I think that comes where if you're ready to go and you've played your list a lot, you've practiced and you've thought about it, it can be quicker. But I think there's something to be said about that.
Yeah. No, I don't know if there's much more to say. I think that hits the nail on the head there. I think in order to be in the tournament mindset, if you're a competitive player, make sure you're doing the right things. Make sure you're in that tournament mindset. And there's no problem if you're the kind of person that performs better if you're laughing and having a good time. Do it. By all means, I will be right there with you. I'm a very lackadaisical person when it comes to that. I'm very, I'm aloof about a lot of things even. I'm okay with joking.
Aloof, man, that's a great word.
Yeah.
Vocabulary words of the week: aloof and Sudoku.
Yes, Sudoku.
Sudoku.
And commit aloof.
Yeah, not like my dad. I'm just kidding.
Oh gosh, got him.
Psych.
But that's it for our main topic today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Really quickly though, we will go into our last segment, which is Double Vision. So to this week we have to make it a little bit quicker because we are running low on time. This is, like I said, we have a lot to talk about this podcast. We're already over our normal time, which is great. I love this discussion, but we do have one last thing, and I don't want to drag on too much. But This week's Double Vision, we're talking about the supposed leak that came out about a week and a half ago. We didn't get a chance to talk about it too much last podcast, but we're talking about supposed leaks for all new factions. Matt, what were some of the things that were leaked?
Cad Bane. Cad Bane was
Bane.
one of them, and I tell you, the droids would need something like him. Just give you some diversity. Also, commando droids. Padme, who I imagine, if it's true, would be something like Leia. ARC troopers.
Yeah.
That's a whole discussion from the time.
Yeah.
ARCs versus commandos. I can't even remember.
I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know why they would. Unless if they're a strike team formation, I don't know why they'd put commando droids with ARC troopers and not Republic commandos.
I agree 100%. And what even
If
else?
you've listened to the intro, you know we're both huge fans of Republic Commando.
Huge.
So
Great game. And there was a lot of things. And then Rebels and Empire were getting some cool things as well. Just there was a lot.
yeah, no. So there's Padme, Cad Bane. You're getting for the Rebels. I would assume it's the Rebels. Clan Ren.
Oh yes, that was Clan Ren. That's right.
And then,
if you've seen Rebels, you would understand
Yeah.
that. Which I think that's such a cool idea.
Right. Here's the biggest thing. It's the last one, I believe. And I guess the Republic ATRT and the STAP speeder for the droids and Republic, respectively. But the last thing is the one thing that I think makes this whole thing fake. It's the Inferno Squad.
Now tell me about that one, because I'm a little confused. I want to know. I'm interested.
So there's two ways we can go with this, right? So I have a couple reasons why I think of this leak is fake. Anyways, we're talking SKU numbers and stuff. That's really not that important.
Where they just don't line up.
They don't line up with the
Order
SKU numbers that I have
things.
in the store. Like they don't line up. But I mean, it could be just a loss in translation from France. That I'll totally write that off as that. However, my big thing is why would you have Iden Versio as an operative or commander, but have Inferno Squad as a completely separate unit? That does not make sense to me. Unless you're starting to introduce this system where operatives can be subbed in to a Spec Ops unit.
Is there a chance that we could see something like that with Cassian K2? And maybe that's how they introduce
With
it.
Pathfinders, with Jin and Cassian being able to sub in for unit leaders of Pathfinders, I think there's a high chance of that. If this is true, right? If we're talking Inferno Squad, because why would you have just the 3 of the other Inferno Squad members and have Iden on her own? That doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Unless they're just generic Inferno Squad. Maybe they're not Del and the gang. Like maybe they're not all of them. Maybe not. But Inferno Squad, they all have names. I don't see that happening.
No.
But this is my big thing. If it is true, I'm really happy about that because that means that we have a chance of some pretty cool things coming to the Republic.
It's cool. I think that would lead right into things like Padawan mechanics, Jedi, which is really cool. And I'll say this. What I am happy about is that the commandos aren't on there.
Right.
And this is why. Because I think you're saying it exactly right. With power creep just being a thing it is. Now, in games like this, objectives can really limit power creep, so it's not so bad. But units that come out later tend to be better.
Yeah.
They just do. Let's look at Shores and
Shore
Tauns
Troopers,
are
Tauntauns.
good. They're very good, and they're kind of what's powerful at the moment.
Yeah.
If Commandos come out later, I would love it because that means they'll probably be more useful
Right.
than it.
And maybe they have an idea for commandos that wouldn't fit the build of the game they're going for right now.
Oh, where they're going with that duality of characters. I can see that,
Well, let's just say, I'm going to throw it out there. What if it's an entirely new position?
Oh, like a new rank.
Something,
not even out
totally
there.
new rank. Because like nobody would have thought that an operative was a thing before they announced Boba. Like that was a new thing that Boba Fett brought was the operative rank.
I wonder. That'd be interesting.
What if it's like not a Spec Ops, but it's just something in the middle between a support and a Spec Ops, where it's tanky like a support would be, but also maneuverable and precise with attacks like a Spec Ops should be.
That'd be interesting.
Because like all the Spec Ops I can think of off the top of my head are like strike teams, Wookiees, Death Troopers.
Maybe that's how they do mercenary units.
Yeah.
Like you get a mercenary sort
Yeah,
of rank.
there you go. Yeah,
So it's like you could buy something from somebody else.
that'd be super good.
There's some cool ideas in the future.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just like the idea as well, like how you mentioned the Padawan mechanic. Like, let's say, hear me out, okay?
Yo.
Jedi Council unit, right?
Oh, okay.
So you take the Jedi Council unit card, and it's just 4 Jedi Councils, but it has a heavy upgrade that heavy upgrade is always your unit leader, but that's someone recognizable. Or
So you would plug in Mace.
right,
So,
right. You'd plug
yeah.
in Mace, or you'd plug in Yoda, Kiadi Mundi, Ayla. Well, maybe not Ayla Secura if she's going to be in the tank, but you get my point. Like these
Yeah.
characters, and then because they're like these really strong, iconic characters, that entire unit
Gets an ability or
takes
something.
the role of that character. Like maybe if you do a Mace Windu Jedi Council unit, you're probably going to be much more aggressive.
Like you're
than-
getting Pierce or
yeah,
something.
exactly,
Or Charge,
exactly,
or Relentless.
So you play them so differently.
See, that'd be
Maybe
cool.
Republic Commandos would be something like that.
See, that'd be cool because then it could be like, okay, what form am I taking?
Yeah.
Am I taking the more? It'd be interesting because like there'd be very specific loadouts. You could be okay. My specific meta runs tanks. I'm gonna run anti-tank.
Yeah.
They run Jedi. I'm gonna take anti-Jedi. That'd be a cool idea.
Yeah, and I can believe this too, that Republic Commandos just aren't gonna come for a while because they just don't know how to put them in. Like, that's a weird one. Like, you have a unit leader that's just kind of well good at everything, but then you have specialty roles. You have a sniper, you have a saboteur. You know, like how do you make that work in a unit within this game when those are all very different roles?
Right.
And that's why I think maybe it's just a completely new rank.
It's hard because I think they did it with the Death Troopers.
Yeah.
They did it pretty well.
With the loadout with
the
with
loadout
Cadian,
stuff,
Cassian,
And we kind
Cadian,
of Cadian,
Cadian and Ison.
Cadian and Sudoku.
Oh my gosh!
Right? It's fun. You know, I think you're right. Like when we talked about that in one of the other episodes. I don't know. It's interesting because like I think this is something that I have to say is the most difficult part about this game. Range is always going to be super important. So you're always going to want to take the range 4 and the range 5 weapon over the range 2.
Yeah, no, that's true. Even if it
Unless-
hits harder, but even if it hits less hard, you can still keep your distance and not get hit.
Yeah, it's just something to be said about getting shots off. But if they can find a way to make it work,
Yeah.
where your range 2 and your range 3 shots are a lot more important,
Okay.
that'd be game changer.
All right. You know our love for Republic Commandos, guys. So I'm going to ask Matt one final question.
Uh-oh.
Are the Republic Commandos from the game with Boss and Sev and Scorch, are they canon?
They actually are. You questioned me on my Clone Wars
Yeah.
knowledge. I've been actually rewatching this to get ready for the new season.
Yeah.
So I just rewatched that episode where they
because
come
they-
out of
yep.
the shuttle
Yep.
and it comes down.
I just watched that too.
It's so
Yeah.
cool, dude. Can I tell you when I first saw that, I was freaking. I was like,
I was like, oh, yeah, I was right there with you.
It's so cool. Love to have it.
I
love
feel
to
like
see
their
it.
game is grandfathered into canon because of that one scene in Star Wars.
I wonder. You know what's interesting? It's like with Knights of the Old Republic. Rumor has it that they're making what's like a kind of a pseudo sequel.
Yeah.
Because Revan is
Right.
now canon.
Yeah,
One of the legions of Sith troopers
Yeah.
in the movie was technically the Revan Legion.
Yeah.
Because they're all named after Sith.
Right.
Now, that's a spoiler alert. Actually, it's not even
It's not a
spoiler.
spoiler.
It's not in the movie.
it's been out for almost 2 months, sweetheart. You gotta watch the movie.
If y'all haven't seen it yet, I mean, I'm not endorsing pirating, but
Yo ho ho, if you know what I mean.
it's a pirate's life for me.
I'm not no much of a pirate, but let's get some rum.
Tortuga.
Oh man, but yeah, one of these days we'll have to talk more about Republic Commandos because I think that could make a good 30-minute podcast on its own for a bonus episode. One thing I do want to ask you, the community at home, if you're listening this far in, which I hope you are, let us know what you think about that last subject because I've thought about the idea and I bounced this off of Matt maybe once or twice. But what do you think about some bonus episodes when the Clone Wars comes out? It's not Star Wars Legion, it's just Star Wars podcast, just some generic bonus episodes some bonus episodes for generic Star Wars stuff, like the shows, like the movies,
Like just
all of
specific
that stuff.
episode breakdowns. Yeah. Or like after shows kind
right.
of thing.
Yep. But with that, guys, that's all we have for you today. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all the feedback in the comments. And until next time, we'll see you next week.
That's right. Goodbye. See ya.